Welcome to Witness Wednesday here on the Walk Boldly with Jesus podcast. I'm your host, Katherine Duggan. However, each Wednesday, I will have a guest give their witness of how God is working in their lives. Hearing how God is working in other people's lives shows us how deeply He cares for each one of us individually. Listening to these experiences will help your faith grow. I am so blessed to be able to share these with you. Let's get started. The witness I'm sharing with you today is from the book Chicken Soup of the Soul, a book of miracles, 101 true stories of healing, faith, divine intervention, and answered prayers. My mother-in-law bought this for me for my birthday this year, and so I thought it would be perfect to share them with you for Witness Wednesdays every now and then. This one is number 50, and it's called Speaking from the Heart. My husband Rich and I decided to add to our family through adoption. There were many different avenues we could have taken, but one called to us in an extraordinary way. There was an article in the newspaper about a local family who had traveled to Romania and adopted there. We wondered if it was something we could do, so we talked to them. The adoption process seemed complicated. Romania was so far away, and they spoke another language, and we didn't know anything about international adoption law. To complicate matters, the government was making it difficult for foreigners to adopt. Though the orphanages were overflowing with children, the orphans barely received medical attention, and in some cases did not even get basic necessities that children need: food, clothing, and warm, clean bed. The orphanage workers did their best with what they had, but it wasn't enough. The children were suffering. It was a simple decision to fly halfway across the world to the country I knew little about. It was easy because I was doing the right thing. I left for Romania without my husband. We both couldn't afford to take time off from work. I hated to leave him, and I'll never forget how lonely I was as the plane taxied off the runway. On the long flight, I worried about what I would find once I got there. I had never been to another country, and I was afraid I would struggle with the language barrier, especially since I'm hearing impaired and rely heavily on reading lips. I hired Dragos, a translator, thinking that would be helpful, but it was still a challenge for me. He spoke broken English, and I could barely read his lips to understand him. I had to concentrate intently on every word he spoke, and I always made him repeat everything and talk more slowly. He was unbelievably patient with my hearing disability. Days turned into weeks, and they all seemed to blend together until I found Adela, or rather she found me. Before I could mother this beautiful child, I first had to complete a ton of paperwork. I had to cut through red tape and jump through numerous hoops to get appointments at the U.S. Embassy, meet with social workers, and translate some of the documents into the Romanian language and others into English. It seemed to take forever, and I was worried that something would go wrong, but everything fell magically into place. When the day arrived to finally meet with Rada, Adela's birth mother, I was a nervous wreck. I would be receiving my daughter. Excited, scared, and relieved, I couldn't wait to finally hold Adela in my arms again. I felt a total acceptance that Adela's birth mother thought I was special enough to care for and love her baby forever. Dragos stood off to the side so I could focus on the most precious moment of my life, accepting Adela, my new daughter. Time seemed to stand still when I looked at Rada, and she looked at me. My heart thumped practically right out of my chest. I wondered how I could tell her that everything would be all right. She only spoke Romanian, and I only knew English. At that moment, she touched my arm, and I felt my heart begin to melt. She gently placed Adela in my arms, and I accepted my baby with an outpouring of love. She felt so warm and soft. I placed my hand on Adela's head, and Rada placed her hand over mine. She licked her dry lips and spoke to me in a hushed tone. "You will be able to care for her. I cannot. I am so young," she said. "We'll love her and protect her with all our hearts." Please don't worry, I said, even though I knew she would. I won't worry because I see in your eyes how much you love her already, and I know you will give her a good home. Tears welled in my eyes and rolled uncontrollably down my face. You have given me the gift of life, love, and a chance to be a mom again. I sniffled, and she couldn't contain her tears either. I'm so proud of you for having the courage and love to let her go. She nodded as if to accept my words, and a brief silence fell between us while we stared in wonderment at the child we were both cradling. Do you know she looks just like you? So beautiful and perfect. She has your hair, I said, looking right into Rada's dark brown eyes. She blushed and smiled and let her eyes rest on Adela. You are so kind, she murmured. At that moment, we both looked down at Adela, and I placed my hand on Adela's tummy, and she seemed to smile at us, like she knew it was a special moment in our lives. Rada placed her hand over mine. She knows you already, she began. She's smiling at you. No, I said. She's smiling at us. We were both staring at our baby, studying every detail of her tiny face. I knew Rada was burning the image into her memory. It would comfort her through many years. I felt Rada's hand slowly slip off, and she quietly walked away. I knew these would be the hardest steps she would ever take. Watching her leave was surreal and is etched in my memory forever. Dragos rested his hand on my shoulder and peered into the tightly wrapped bundle in my arms. I think you've been holding back on me, he said with a lilt in his voice. I glanced up at him and read his lips. I don't understand. Why did you hire me as a translator? He didn't give me a chance to respond. I watched you with Rada. You didn't read her lips, and you spoke to her in perfect Romania. I thought you didn't know this language. I don't know it. Then how did you just use it? No one could have been more surprised than me. My heart fluttered in my chest. It was a miracle. And this story was written by Denise Colton D'Agostino, as told by Barbara Canal.
We have all seen God working in our lives. However, we might not all be aware it is God who is working in our lives. This is why it's so important we start talking about it more. The more we share our experiences, the more people understand how God works and how much He truly loves us. If you would be willing to share any of your experiences of how God has worked in your life, please email me at Catherine@findingtruenorthcoaching.com. CATHERINE at findingtruenorthcoaching.com. Or you can click on the link below. It won't take up much of your time, and your story could be just the story someone needs to hear today. Please prayerfully consider sharing your story. Everyone has one, and the world needs to hear them. I look forward to spending time with you again tomorrow. Remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. I will have another witness for you next Wednesday. Have a blessed day.